Are we on? I guess we are. It looked a little different. It didn't line up the way I'm used to. So anyway, welcome to Martini time. And since I'm the Martini priest, and here's our communion, I thought I'd give a little Good Friday sermon. So why bother with church? If the church doesn't come to me, I'll go. If I can't go into the church, I'll create the church here. You know, I used to want to be. I did want to be a minister. Back in 1970, I went to. I had a humongous spiritual experience in '68, and I decided that my vocation was to speak the Word of God. So I went to the Richmond Presbyterian Seminary, and they accepted my application. I was kind of a lone wolf, no money, no sponsorship. So anyway, they let me in, and then they reviewed my application and decided I was not going to get to the tuna factory. So it was a big blow, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So it was my Good Friday, in the sense that a happy fault. Let's put it that way. So why do we say the Friday when Jesus was crucified was a Good Friday? Well, it's the happy fault. So this happy fault, which at the time was a great blow, because I was like, God had rejected me, my whole vocation. I was not going to get credentials. I was not going to get authorization. I was not going to be affirmed, you see, externally. Like when your father affirms you, or when the boss affirms you, or something. So I didn't get that. So that set me off on a different course, and I went into yoga, and I was going to be a yoga minister. And that lasted for 10 years. So I've realized today that my whole life has been an evolution of the search for my creative center. And every decade I would go through a different evolutionary phase, but they all had one thing in common, which was I wanted someone else to affirm my center. When I was with Siddha Yoga and Swami Muktananda, I was a Siddha Yoga center leader, but I was affirmed by the Guru. I was like a church, a Guru church. He was the Pope. You see, so everything, so there was a need to be, and then I got hooked up with Yogaville, and I opened up a yoga center, and I felt like I was being, I had some swamis come here and do a puja and everything, and I felt like I was being authenticated by Yogaville, by the Guru there. So this whole idea of having your center authenticated and affirmed, we get in relationships. Romantic relationship is all about that. When you fall in love, the other person affirms you. You affirm each other, you see. So you are greater together, each affirming the other's center. But that doesn't hold too often either. So this whole idea of the search for my center, and your center is your creative source. And your true center is not dependent upon any external authority. Your true center is not dependent upon a belief system, a church membership, a degree, your knowledge, all that you've accumulated, all of your books, all of your intellectual expertise. All of that is external affirmation of your creative center, and it's not the true center. So the true center is not dependent upon any form at all. It's not dependent upon any authority. It's not dependent upon the world. The true center is unique and it's free, you see. And it's available anytime. That's when I come to these Facebook live talks. I don't know what I'm going to say, so I'm just riffing it. But I surrender to my center. I trust that my center is there. I trust that I will not babble and make a fool of myself. I trust that I will have something to say. So there's a trust in your center. And that trust in your center only awakens when you go through the painful evolutionary process of discovering that that relying on others to affirm your center is a false idol. So we make the guru, we make the church, we make the pope, we make the belief system. All that is a false idol. And we make that the center, and then we orbit around that, you see, like a tent pole. But then everything's impermanent and the tent falls down. And that's Zen. The whole evolutionary thrust of Zen is the evolution of consciousness. And it's very simple. It's basically the willingness to pull all the rugs out from under your feet so you will be forced to discover your true center. So disasters are just what you need. Loss is just what you need to discover your center. The happy fault, the Good Friday, the crucifixion, the death, the loss, the upset, the unexpected accident. All of these are basically the life's way of showing to you where your true center is. You can't awaken your true center unless all of the crutches are pulled away. Everything that you depend upon is taken away. And that leaves you with nothing but your center that doesn't depend on any form or any external thing. And that is when you are free. So that's my little sermon for today. So Good Friday is the happy fault. So when you have accidents, upset, things go wrong, tragedy, it's a time to grieve, but at the same time, it's the time to welcome it. It's the time to embrace your happy fault and go through it. Because when you go through it with a little Buddha smile, you see, with a little Buddha smile, you go through it while you're feeling the grief and all of that. It's not like you make it go away. You go through it with a smile because you know that you're on the way to discover your true center that was hidden to you by your dependence upon whatever was taken away. Even if it was a loved one, a parent, your dog, whatever. You see, it's not that we shouldn't love them and have them in our life. It's the fact that when they're taken away, it leaves a hole, and it's through that hole that grace can pour. Because in that hole, our heart is vulnerable. And if we don't close it up, if we don't slam it shut and go blame somebody for our tragedy, if we leave it open, we leave it raw, and we just accept it as my happy fault, grace pours in and your center is born. And you look back and you say, that was the best thing that ever, whatever the loss was. You see the divinity in it. You see God's will working through that, you see. So that's the happy fault. I think that was in a hymn somewhere about Jesus being the crucifixion being the happy fault. So that when we accept and welcome the happy fault, that allows the resurrection to happen. Which is the way Jesus went to the cross. He didn't go blaming, he didn't go crying. He went to it, I think as St. Augustine said, like the bridegroom to the bride, It was a embracing of his destiny. He accepted it, even though he was innocent, he accepted it as what was given. It's what's given. So when loss comes, it's what's given. So you accept what's given, you experience the grief, you go through the process, but at the same time, there's a part of you that says it's okay, I accept this cross. And that acceptance of the cross transmutes it into the resurrection and the birth of your center. So, thank you, and I'll see you in the morning for Zen Live.